What's the most useless thing you've ever bought? I bought a pair of $200 leather dress shoes for work right before the pandemic hit, in early February 2020. I wore them for about 6 weeks and then we were in work from home mode. Now we're mostly back to the office but the dress code is more casual. I haven't worn them since March 2020. I bought these ice trays on Amazon that make tiny ice cubes. The only way I've been able to get the ice out is to slightly melt it, but since the cubes are so small, there's basically nothing left. Edit. I am blown away by the number of people who think I haven't tried advanced tactics such as twisting the tray or running warm water on it. We put $1,000 in tires on my wife's SUV. The next afternoon it was totaled. Insurance company said it wouldn't change the payout, so when I went to the towing yard to get her belongings out of the vehicle I took 4 junkyard tires and wheels with me. The towing company had already swapped them. Raised hell with the towing company. They just laughed at me, called my agent who called the sheriff. The towing company suddenly remembered where the tires were, on an employee's truck, and said they would get them removed and bring them to me. Before I could say a word my agent lit into them about theft, tire bead damage, illegal business practices, treadwear damage and anything else he could think of. Walked out of there with the full amount I had paid for the tires and cash. Bought a periodic table which had all the elements inside, except it didn't. It just had a super low resolution print of the elements onto an acrylic block. When I asked for my money back for false advertising they wanted me to send it back to China within 5 days. Think it's in a drawer somewhere. I worked as a delivery man for a furniture store when I was in college. If someone bought a 4-foot coffee table, we could bet they'd live in a big single-story house with double front doors. If they bought a 10-foot couch, chances were they were in an apartment on the 3rd floor, with no freight elevator. I have over 1,200 games and haven't even installed, even once, about 75% of them, of the installed ones, prior to an HD dying, I've played, in the last 10 years, probably around 100. Of these 100, probably less than 30 have any significant amount of time invested in them. Of these, about 10 or once I feel like playing at any given time. I've gotten better about sales and bundles but I still have my moments of weakness. My mother's insurance agent clearly mentioned that her house insurance covers damage caused by aircraft crash. There are planes flying nearby but it's not even close to any airport, so the chance of one crashing and damaging her house are like nothing. A more likely scenario would be like someone flying a drone and scratching a wall. I got to Costco with my dad sometimes and my mother makes a specific list like milk, eggs, paper towels, etc. and we leave with that and whatever new somewhat odd food item they've just put on sale. And numerous other things that are at a cheaper price. We won't find a vacuum that hangs on the wall at $70 anywhere else. Consumerism at its finest. My wife wanted one and my mom said we wouldn't need one and to hold off a couple weeks after the baby was born to buy one. My wife and mom are really close so she trusted her. Then she suggested those mobile pads that hold a couple dot wipes and diapers and said buy 3. One for the car, one for the diaper bag and one for the house. Never did buy a changing table. Change that baby whenever and wherever you can quickly and move on. Lesson learned. Please no one buy these. You risk making your pore sizes way worse and therefore getting more clogged pores. What you're most likely seeing as sebaceous filaments which are normal and you'll never get rid of, only reduce visibility, and you're risking short-term things like bruises but also permanent damage like broken capillaries. You can go to a med spa for a professional facial with someone who has the right kit and right know-how but don't do it yourself. Have you washed it first, or tried putting one of your worn shirts in it for a few days? Cats just basically love something that smells familiar. We had the same with ours, left my pajamas in it and now they sleep there all the time. But also, I know cats can be little shits and will still not appreciate lovely things so good luck. I had this for my cat. Little fucker figured out that he was making the noise, even though it had a delayed action to specifically keep cats from associating the noise with the action. It was his preferred way to wake me up on the weekends. You can ignore one chunk, weir, sift, plop. It is impossible to ignore 5 in a row. My cat, too, was afraid of the noise, but it was fine with the delay. We kept it by a regular litter box for the other cat. One day I was scooping the regular box when Jordy entered the other to do his business. Mid-deposit I accidentally made a noise and he bolted as if running from the gates of hell. For me, time slowed as I watched, horrified, while a Tootsie Roll tumbled through the air. Talk about being afraid of shit hitting the wall. It landed in the regular box but no more robot box. Drive. My cat and I scared the shit out of each other and no more robo. I have an issue with money spending compulsions. A lot due to growing up poor. I have bought many random things I've never used or wondered why I bought them. The one that takes the cake is a pair of chicken decorations that cost me $60. I saw them and had the money so I bought them. They were literal polystyrene with feathers glued on them and I was halfway home when I realized I didn't want them. Tried to return them but could only get store credit, so ended up keeping them lol. Oh God, I feel this. My family is horrible with money and any income is disposable income. My mother threw a fit when I wouldn't loan her $700 of my only $3,000 from student loans, saying that she knew I had the money for it. She said she wanted it to feel more cushioned when getting the next apartment. I had just gotten back from a study abroad and hadn't gotten a job yet. My sister just recently spent $1,000 on baby supplies for my brother who apparently didn't have money for his family, but didn't have any money left after that. Couldn't afford $120 after her car got towed. Yet she's always going out drinking and partying and traveling and posting it on her Instagram. I mean, America's poverty industry is fucked up, but FFS, get some cheap thrills instead. It's one thing to be poor and stuck. It's another thing to be financially irresponsible. Thanks for listening to my rant. Yeah, I also grew up poor. When I went to college I had disposable income in the way of loan money that I spent on some useless crap and subpar meals. Fast forward a decade and I'm still paying students' loans, some of which, for junk and food I thought I needed at the time. I still make impulse buys but I try to be much more diligent about what I purchase. Doctor, have fun with your money when you're young, but don't be reckless. When I was a kid we took a family trip to Vegas and my mom had us sit in on 3 different timeshare sales pitches for the free tickets offered. We went to a magic show and I was called on stage to help cut her in half, which was a blast. Mom said it was the best way to get normally expensive tickets for free and turn down the timeshare pitches. We have 2 cats. We were trying to get cat 1 to drink more water, so we got a cat fountain for them. Cat 1 loved it but cat 2 didn't really go near it. The first night we got woken up to the sounds of cat 2 crying. He was cowering behind the wall crying at the fountain. We had to return it because, although it worked and served its purpose of getting cat 1 to drink more water, the other cat deemed it too scary to have. When I was young, and YouTube was new, I wanted to be a YouTube star, so I made videos. I did well, and got some money. Spent like $1K to boost my channel, and get shit tons of views. I signed with Machinima thinking I made it. A month later mostly all my money I made was taken by them, 60-40 split, and they kept no promises of building my channel. I was signed up for 2 years, and required to meet goals to keep my contact. I got sick and for 3 months didn't make anything, so Machinima claimed all my videos, and dumped my channel. I can go back now to some old videos of Machinima using my video as a fake gamer girls preteens to play over my videos, and making millions of views off my work. Never made a video again and had over 5K to 8K of gear in my room just for video making. I met my soon-to-be wife on Tinder. She actually liked me first and I got so excited when I saw her. We discovered later that we both sent our Tinder profile pictures to our respective moms because we were feeling so hopeful about it. I had Tinder Platinum though. or whatever the most expensive one was, 'cause I didn't want to waste any time. She was my third overall Tinder date. First one was years ago and resulted in her gifting me a car. After I shared with her my plan for buying one, she was an incredibly generous woman, has been a great friend over the years, and I'm grateful to now be in a position to reciprocate the generosity. Second date was a few days before the third one. We had an awesome 16-hour one-night stand and thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. I run into her from time to time and she once called me crying 'cause there was a frog in her car. So she drove over and I captured the frog for her. Weird, but endearing nonetheless. The third one. My soon-to-be wife. No complaints whatsoever about Tinder. Watson. He's the most useless cat you've ever met. I mean, I didn't exactly buy him. I got him in exchange for getting his mom fixed. 7 years of having mice dropped in my hair at 3 a.m., being used as a towel, never having a wee unwatched. I love him, but he's good gods, he's the best. Can relate. I got a bunny who is the dumbest animal you can imagine. You need to turn him around so he can see and eat his food, otherwise he keeps looking at the wrong direction and acts like he's nearly dying of hunger. He frequently runs against open doors and uses my hair as a pillow. I love him and he's the cutest little shit ever, but he's also horrible. When I was 14, I had a crush on this girl a year older than me. She hung out with the punk crowd and once mentioned that she loved guys who did BMX. I sold a bunch of my games to buy a shitty mongoose bike for like $100 so that I could impress her. I went to the skate park to try it out. Everyone laughed at me and then I fell and hit my shin. I left and never picked up the bike again. I paid extra money for a real purse that is clear because I have season tickets for multiple sports. I have a whole collection of different sized clear bags for additional storage depending on the weather. And then COVID hit and my school did no crowds for a year. My clear purse bags sat in a pile mocking me. My friend tried making an art project for his robotics class that was a really curse alarm clock 3D printed to look like a child. When it went off, it let out this ungodly screech and flailed its limbs around, randomly banging the surface beneath it. The only way to shut it off again was to throw it super hard against the wall so its limbs all disconnected. When he graduated, he didn't want to keep it around because he was afraid his toddler would eat the parts. So I gave him $5 for it and brought it home. I used it like twice and then never again. It's at my mom's house now somewhere. Put her gaming dice and a small leather pouch for D&D. It was immediately useless because my original D&D group ghosted me when I came out of the closet a few weeks later, so the dice remained unused for years. When I found a new group, the DM initially refused to let me use them because they nicked up her new wooden table and were really loud when then rolled. Eventually we started gaming elsewhere on a plastic table, which is where I found out that pewter is a soft metal, so the dice became slightly deformed and turned into weighted dice with the low numbers coming up significantly more than average. I think the dice are sitting at the bottom of a moving box somewhere because I refuse to get rid of them since they cost $45. The clapper. You know, the as seen on TV power plug that you can attach a lamp or something to, and all you'd need to do was clap twice to turn it on and off. The audio didn't pick up very well, so I'm clapping like an idiot in the dark. Trying to turn on a lamp when walking over was not that much harder and at that point less frustrating. My sister dropped $50 on a kitchen gadget that's supposed to cook eggs. It's shaped like a chicken and holds 6 eggs. It doesn't work very well, the yolks are completely runny and the whites can be slimy, not set. But that's not why she doesn't like it. She is disappointed that it only beeps when the timer's up, instead of clucking or crowing. But she still won't get rid of it, because it's cute. So it occupies precious shelf space in the pantry and gathers dust. A $50 piece of chicken-shaped plastic crap that doesn't make good eggs and doesn't even cluck. A pop small photo thingy. When I was 16, a guy kept following me everywhere after school was over and I was uncomfortable, so I ended up going to a mall instead of home. Walked 4 rounds in a supermarket and brought nothing. kept walking in and out an event venue and electronic stores insulting PCs and keyboards when he was flexing his knowledge. He stuck to me throughout and kept talking. In my last resorts, I was thinking, hey, most guys hate girls who fangirl over pops, so he'll leave me alone if I gross him out by pretending to be an extreme fangirl. Long story short, he didn't. I don't even care much for pop and didn't even know who the idol was, so I couldn't give it to anyone because I wasn't sure if they would like it. One of the many useless things I got was a self-cleaning litter box. I had bought it from a pet store and I had heard a lot of good things about it. Many of my friends who had cats said it was great, that it made cleaning the litter box easier. It came unassembled, so I spent the excruciating time to put it together. The instructions it came with seemed to be written by someone who was first learning English. Anyway, with all the blood, sweat and tears I put into it, I finally had it. The box said I just had to put in a tray for the dirty litter to be scooped into. Simple enough, I thought. After building it together, the only thing I had left to do was turn it on by a simple switch. For the first time it scooped the litter out. The cats had not used it, but it seemed like it would work just as everyone had said. I showed it to my cats and they understood it was their new litter box. I get myself dinner, get ready for bed, etc. That night I go to sleep. So far, no problems. It was around 1:30 a.m. that I suddenly heard a loud crack. It was loud enough to wake me. I have never woken up to sound before unless it was my younger brother screaming in my ear to wake up. I go to the litter box, as that was where I heard it, and noticed that the scooper of the self-cleaning litter box had snapped in half while trying to clean up some clump-cut pee. There were no scooper replacements for that part, and the $40 self-cleaning litter box was in the trash the day after it had come in. The amount of carbonation was kinda fine for me. I mean, you can just push it several times and pump more into it. The issue for me was that it tasted differently than standard sodas. I tried 2 types of the gas fillings, brand name and some alternative, and both had the same taste, which is okayish but not quite like the commercial sodas, and the structure of the bubbles was also different. Not sure how else to describe it. Probably a used empty bottle of tequila shaped as a lightning bolt that says Tesla on it for $200. I don't drink alcohol but had still been trying to get the Tesla tequila, which goes for $250, just to display. They have only been available twice and sell out instantly, so I ended up just buying a bottle someone was selling for $200. Not technically useless since its intended purpose for me is art. Was actually listening about Tesla tequila on the radio this morning. Apparently Elon Musk tried to label it as Tesla Aquila, but had to abide to Tesla tequila, since the Mexican Tequila Council is damn serious about how to call your tequilas and doesn't allow name deformations. If you really like the bottle, good for you, since that's actually the most expensive thing of the product. All celebrity-endorsed tequilas are made in Jalisco, Mexico, and unless you're a true tequila connoisseur, you can basically refill it with any aged tequila and you're good to go. Suggestion: Don Julio can be a great refill for that bottle. I own 7 copies of Bambi, 5 VHS/2 DVD, 6 copies of Bambi 2, 5 DVD/1 Blu-ray. Compared to my friend, however, this is nothing. He owns I think 7 copies of Shrek, 10 plus copies of Shrek 2, and God knows how many copies of Shrek Forever After. It started as an inside joke a little over a year ago and it got way out of hand, where we just bought as many copies of these movies for as cheap of a price as we could get. I think most of our movies have only cost $1, $2, $3, and yes, they were all total impulse buys, but we regret nothing. My last motorcycle. I spent many years commuting via Mac, and had a real passion for them, but the last one, my commute was 10 minutes by car, so with the added time for suiting up and down, the Mac ride would take longer than car, and about the same as bicycle. Then I got a job working from home. I rode it 3 or 4 times in 3 years, and spent a couple thousand at least in registration and insurance. Then I had to move out of country and had to buy a new battery for it, as no one would buy a non-running bike, even at ridiculous discount.